Okay, guys, I'm going to try to help you out the best that I can. Remember, most of us are not going to become nuclear physicists or actually try to take Site 13, okay? We're not. But there's a new word, and I would like to help you with the general and special relativity of those hard and soft state, strong or weak forms, zeros and ones, superposition data compressed models that go into this. This is my nuclear physics school guy because if I didn't have a case study, I would just use one.
A couple weeks
regardless
ago,
of what
I made a
it
video saying that I'll be
Ask
attending this
questions.
nuclear physics winter school program called the TMD Winter School. And you may wonder, what would someone bring to a nuclear physics winter school program? Maybe textbooks, notebooks, various important papers? Yeah, maybe. And then there's me. What I'm bringing is a USB mic, a webcam, a drone controller, a drone, another mic, a small tripod. On top of the tripod and camera, I'm currently carrying another camera, a dead cat, it's literally the industry name for it, don't blame me, a dummy battery, a lapel mic, and of course,
This
big
is
tripod. Why am I doing this? Because
dynamics,
on top of attending the nuclear physics winter school program,
so
I'm also responsible for
moving
recording
through
the lectures.
A medium of stuff.
And I'm terrified
so, like I said, you don't
something,
necessarily
so
need it to
my
be
entire arsenal. But yeah, now it's
this
about
quantum
time to start making our way
physicist
to Santa
level
Fe.
of social
I'd like to take the time to
engineering, or
formally
why the
apologize now
megavolts
for not showing you the cat first. I know
the
literally
mega
the only
electron
reason
volts
people
necessary to
watch my
go in to
videos.
feed the reactor to power town. And that problem is going to be relative to 7 wraiths and 100 zombies, given the Hamiltonian of the soft state of
Okay, I am here in the hotel now. This place is actually really
We'll get into
big
that in
for
a minute. Soft
some
state
nuclear physics students. I guess
dependent
I can thank COVID
theorem,
for that though, because I
something
think
like
the
that.
plan
We'll get
was
into
to
it in a
put
minute.
us like 2 people per room. But yeah, you can't really do that now, so we just get these rooms to ourselves. Ugh. Now that we're here, it's about 5 p.m. The school doesn't officially like start until tomorrow, but I still have to go set up the camera stuff and mics so that the speakers have what they need. So I'm gonna go do that and maybe find something to eat.
Kids get in there now. Have a clue. You did extra work in
Of the
lawyers.
conference, it's about 7 a.m.
UCD.
People are probably downstairs getting breakfast and stuff. I'm gonna take a quick look at the schedule and then go downstairs to make sure all of the tech stuff that could go wrong won't go wrong.
No, we just assume we did
Except
it this
for
one
the thing
time.
that's probably
That's
gonna
it.
go wrong.
You
because
can't live
let's
on
face
your
it, something
laurels
always
forever.
goes wrong. So it looks like we're gonna have an intro to QCD, a couple of
Quantum
lectures on
Chromio
that,
Dynamics.
and then an
Basically,
actual
how
intro
I
on
learned this
TMD
computer.
physics,
1 and 2.
as well as
There's an
TMDs
advanced model
and
of figuring out the
semi-inclusive
$300
deep
droid and
inelastic
team
scattering.
members and
What I am
taking this
infinitely
$300
more
droid
concerned with today
model
is
and
the fact
using
that
it
I have
on
to give a
him
talk
to
tomorrow,
actually train his
which
kids in a
means I have
sensible
to make
way.
a talk for tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. I have like versions of the
Well,
talk,
it's
just not
quantum
quite
dynamics
at
and
the
quantum
15
Chromio
minutes that
dynamics.
the talk is going to have to be.
Somebody Bell's equality and with the Gresham's law, the next one that's alive that actually can handle the conversations. The brief, the board meeting, whether a nuclear reactor or stone mill. QCD,
There he is.
quantum dynamics. Now, if I position myself as an electron instead of a person, there you have quantum chromodynamics acting in a timescale, the MOS of that company instead of the MOS of a computer chip.
Got a little, where's the little? Got a little
Okay.
PAL mic for the speaker.
0 and 1, special relativity, general relativity stuff. Remember, they're both the same thing with a Hubble 45 space. Even if we factor Jupiter, it's still generalized into there while dealing with some of the gravitational waves that are out there that'll give you the pipe works to the frames that you need inside of there to allow it to act just like the photon or electron spin traveling through amp that changes its field to register ones and zeros to the sensor downrange, whether it's orientated hot and low or in combinations of that. Deal with the jump step.
My question was, can you prove that without taking a specific representation first?
Yes, we can discuss in detail how to prove that.
Again, having Falovium is hard at the level of figuring out why quantum chromodynamics is as much Tylenol aspirin reduction as far as the computer programmer to describe what that demonstration is about, that reduction, right? So if we're reducing the computer skills to just be something in a chemistry engine, that's quantum chromodynamics. Quantum dynamics still goes to the mathematics that's in chemistry that work in wave functions, just like who's on first or anything like that.
Full of all of these physicists with my little camera and pretend not to be awkward.
Be in charge and still be awkward, you know what I mean?
Okay, 2 lectures
Put the
on
officer
QCD,
or the
1
sergeant
lecture
out there
on TMDs,
giving
and 1 lecture on
ASVAB for
experimental
2020
physics involving
advice. You can
TMDs
tell.
later.
It's not
And
just
we are
some...
done for the... No, I still have to prepare
You
my
just-
talk. Never mind.
as far as people that give ASVAB advice in the conversations.
Day 2 of the school.
QCD.
I'm pretty much all done with my talk. I might rehearse it one
You've
time
done it
with
more
a
than you
friend
think. You
from
get there, you find out the
NMSU.
people in there, and
It's
they
about
didn't
7
necessarily
a.m.
need
right
anything,
now.
and it's all both studying.
Go downstairs with my advisor, have some breakfast, and I actually have no idea what the first talk of the day is going to be. But you'll find out with me.
We're getting there.
We talked about enterprise observables, observable with foundation, talked about symmetry.
Symmetry.
So
Congruent.
I'm going to give you
Convergent.
today an introduction to
And zeros and
transverse
ones.
momentum dependent.
Again,
quantum
this has got to
distributions.
be a nuclear reactor. It's got to be CERN. It's got to be something out there in astrology, given radio signals emissions from a black hole, which is radio emissions from a
motivation
black
is that
hole
we're
of
gonna
a
be
problem
peeling
you
the
have in CERN feeder, nuclear
this,
technology,
you'll
EV volts
see
to the
that this
input of dollars,
analogy, there's
YF
some
over
truth
X.
to it.
But they're still
Because,
revolved
you know,
around
when
a
you peel an
certain
onion,
position
you
of the
start crying.
compartmentalization of what that actual
And
base is
that
about.
may
Let's
happen
talk
with
about Miller.
TMDs,
You
because
gonna
they're not the
you
cosmos
gonna
simple
run the
thing.
schematics
So we're gonna take
and
it
be the
stage by
dude taking
stage
the
and
battlefield
unravel the dynamics of TMDs. That's
at the same time?
today's lecture.
to
So I
position?
just met
No,
a student at the
no,
TMD
Millie.
school,
Oh my goodness, you
who
better
was
work on
familiar with
that.
some of my videos, like the Tensor Calc series, which is pretty cool. Plot twist, though,
Of
attending
course
the
he wouldn't
school,
let me say
asking good
anything. Like, of
questions.
course I
The
can't
guy's
do
in
this.
undergrad.
You're smart about it.
Nothing
You
like
get in
that
front
to
of us
remind you that there's a lot of people in this world that are way smarter than
before
me.
you get
But
somebody
I've
give you
gotta
that
get like
sexual
an
harassment. I have
hour or
nothing
so
wrong with the
before I'm
Vitruvian
scheduled to
woman
give
nor the
my
protocols
talk
of the process
on the
that work.
ether.
So don't think that you're
So
going
we're
to
just gonna
undersell
do
me by
some
not paying
revision
attention to
try
those
to
numbers.
make
Like
sure
I
have the
didn't study.
pace down. If you're wondering how do I not have the talk down when I'm about to give it in an hour, I signed up to give it a couple days ago.
You know the
so
Morbins
not
and
too
those
much
gold
notice.
tablets?
But it's
like me
it's
trying to
basically a
recite
talk I've given a
Penn's
few
Row or
times
my
before,
work
so I'm not
45
too
minutes in a
worried
lecture
about it.
over and
Got enough
over
time
and
to
over. It takes
practice,
time.
though, and then
That quantum
probably
dynamics,
the
the
most,
quantum chromodynamics
stressful
of a
part of the
classroom.
TMD school will
The
be
dynamics work the same way the
how
I
do I-
blinky,
You know, I
winkities,
take that back. My
grades,
mom's
C++,
not gonna like that
A,
comment. I
F.
don't have to give a talk.
They're in
I get to
superposition.
give a talk. There you go, Mom. I beat you to
But
it.
we just had a
All
conversation. Is
stuff
that the
being
one I
said,
do
though,
the constant
definitely don't
preachings, the
feel
redundant
as
teachings
prepared
for
as I
sharps
would like
about?
to be. But too bad, because it's time. Osama and I are just killing some time before we have to give our talks. And therefore, you can't necessarily expect that just because it looks and sounds like a tadpole, that its contributions will be
Again, you
removed
think
by
that's
a
area
tadpole
breathing Neo?
counter.
Are you sure?
The usual
How far does the moon away? Are
prescription
you
of
sure?
keeping tadpoles under
I mean,
the
we know
ground.
this is
You gotta be a
hydrogen,
little
so,
bit more careful. I learned that the hard way.
ideal state, right? But it's not. There's oxygen,
I
nitrogen, a
think
bunch of
for a talk
compositions. You
given
change the
at
density
like
of that,
8:30
and you
p.m.,
climb
it
the
went pretty
Himalayas
well.
without an
Right now
oxygen
it
tank,
is
you drop.
almost 11 p.m.
That's
I am
what
freaking
IH looks like.
exhausted. I think I'm
You
gonna have
can't
to take
get just because it
a
looks like
block day
tadpole
off
or a
tomorrow.
raven.
Something's gotta give. Is day
Doesn't
like
mean
6
it's really
or
within the
20
olive
of the
zeros of
TMD
those
school?
things
I'm not
anymore,
too sure at
given
this
wild
point.
crows and how they act, or whether they even socialize with humans.
More on that later. But on the agenda for today, we've got a lot of TMD stuff.
At that level,
soft-collinear
that might be
effective
the
theory and
macro you're
TMD
looking for to
evolution.
deal with
I'm
some
uncomfortable
plague
with
leveling or
TMDs. I'm
something,
even
or
less
dark matter and
comfortable
the
with soft-collinear effective
the
theory.
wobbles of the
TMDs
internal
at
lattice
small x,
confinement.
TMDs and jets.
All right, so soft collinear effective theory, right? Second, what is it? It's like I was in the mill, there was a soft collision that was linear into the effective theory of me describing what to tell the boss next, right? Then you had a break, then you had TMD. Oh, which is, I forget what it was. He did say what it was. I forget where it is. So where are we? Just make sure we have a timestamp. 8:17. Somewhere's in here. 8:17. So what is it? Transverse momentum dependent Parton distribution function. So that's a guy's name. But let's look at this. Transverse. So it's transitory. So not only does it bump into this thing and turn into heat or light, but it's also indicating, enriching this photon's movement, right? So if it indicated some light and some heat, and I knew those values here, it should input the transversive momentum dependent. So it's based in gravity if they're made out of the same element, if they're made out of different elements that we know, or how that composition amountage situation works, then this person's distribution function should work, but it'll work invertly given any other system of distribution. But distribution here is a secondary level of it. It's like saying, instead of just doing congruency in Bernoulli, let's actually take that to somebody's house and try the numbers to see how the flow rating works in that thing, or a carpenter to deal with the area of a circular concrete pour 6 inches thick. What is the transverse momentum distribution function here? Again, it doesn't necessarily need to be quantum mechanics or computer engineering like that. You can certainly still use this stuff at that applicable level. And then you'd go find out, well, just because I didn't know over there, I have a lot of the form works done, I understand maybe potentially which ones are missing here or how to adapt more quickly to the ones that are there.
Physics, as well as TMDs in semi-inclusive deep inelastic scattering, and TMDs in dense matter. For whatever reason, I haven't been sleeping too well
The
since I've been
transverse
here. I keep telling myself
distribution
I'm gonna wake up to go to
momentum
the gym.
in dense
So instead,
materials.
I think
Talking
I'm just
about
gonna
like
use the lunch
fluovium. Now that
break
we've
today
made fluovium, what are we
you know,
doing
get
with
the
it?
gym knocked
Now that we
out,
made
so I'm gonna
dark
show up
matter,
to class
what are
in
we
gym
doing with it?
clothes. Hope that's okay. And the cat is gonna be staring at birds. It's gonna be a good day.
Now that we
Bye.
figured out economics
I
in the
realized
stone mill,
part of
what are
the
we doing
reason I
with it?
felt so
We just did the
uncomfortable
graph.
telling
They can do
people
2 plus
is
2,
because
but
I hadn't taken
if
the
in the
time
end
to
of
really
it
get to
field
know
theory
people
didn't do
yet.
anything on
And
that
over
mill
the
floor,
weekend,
did it
I've
do
been
anything at
talking
all?
to people more, and I feel a lot more comfortable.
And that term, multiple expansion, makes a lot more sense.
Like, I should be able to give a business meeting this and touch on notes that give you a better index in the mill than just no machinery, no Q25 to work with, no differentials of Q25 prime. Secondary quantum is still X of the momentum of those objects given an Andromeda paradox of which one's relative to your position, which is relative, except for, in fact, a humanity at some scales that eat water, food, shelter. We don't like being naked in 32 degrees Fahrenheit for
Getting a
very
little bit
long
of a break
as an
from
average
lunch.
mean, median,
So
mode.
far, my favorite part of this whole TMD school has been like.
But we know
there's
that.
been
Why
giving
do you need to
ideas
do
for my
that?
own
Again, do you
research,
think
which I
that's
didn't
air
really
you're breathing,
expect.
Neo?
But
I
instead of
mean, you
going
could
to lunch,
generally
I'm gonna
assume,
go
but do
try
you know
and
your
squeeze
limits
in
when
a
they
quick
say you'd probably
gym
die
session.
if you didn't drink water for 3 days? You have to test it.
Takeaway I've gotten from these
Now, there's an average
conferences
multi-day vitamin to
is,
water-soluble
most of my learning,
vitamins.
most of
Your
the things that I'm
Huckabee
getting
cinnamon
out of it
pill that you do is a
isn't from the
nocebo,
lectures. The lectures are
placebo
great,
for
don't get me
a
wrong, but it's really
doctoral's
like
diagnosis or
running into
treatment
someone
on a
at the water
standard.
fountain, sparking a
If the results
conversation,
showed it
and
worked
then
in
getting an
calculus and
idea
you
from
fit
my
into
own
the
research
index
from
of
it.
being
That's been
susceptible to that with the best
so cool
result
to
for
see.
those
So many
calculations,
things
why
go
wouldn't
back
I?
to normal from COVID. I mean, we've
And
gotten
if it
pretty
was
good at
also a
doing this
treatment for
virtual
cancer,
thing,
why
and
wouldn't
it
I
can
do
be
that?
tempting to just stay online if you can do it online. Go in person when things when
But
things
you
are
don't know
back to
those
normal.
treatments
It's
are.
been super valuable. By the way, I can do handstands.
That's great. You can do handstands. Fantastic. That is P90X's version of
I
quantum
have
chromodynamics
chronic lower
too.
back pain, so I just try to make like the core workouts as fun as possible.
All this.
Let's
So
see how
this is
close I
an
can get to
NP
the
problem for
one-armed
me as a
handstand.
psychologist as much as a physicist, nutritionalist, neurologist, quantum mechanics expert, and legal expert in the bar.
Not even close. But yeah, my research advisor was actually the one who pointed out the importance of water cooler conversations, and I was like, yeah, right, okay.
There's a few STEM problems
But he was
about it.
right.
They
He was so right.
specifically, I think
So
it
I mean,
was
see what Kelly's up to,
Hodges
though.
that talks about, well, what can you learn from the water cooler about how graphing students or how to improve your other battle buddies' conversational lines will be. You might not want to jump right into it, but that's the nature of superposition. You might want to hold that little gem for a little while.
Kelly's got some research meetings, or else I think she would attend this next talk that's on jets, because she researches galaxy evolutions, and active galactic nuclei sometimes have jets coming out of both sides.
Oh, those kinds of
So,
jets. Yeah,
I guess
well,
she
these
was
ones have
interested to
those
see if
too
there's
coming
parallels
out.
between like hadronic physics and that.
When they get eaten too much shit, they send it back.
High colliders, a quark or a gluon is ejected. That energetic particle wants to leave the interaction. And as
Press
it
this
leaves,
button
because
real
of the
bad.
alignment, it doesn't appear as a quark
No,
or a gluon, it appears
no,
as a trail
Aaron.
of hadrons.
So that wraps up the regular lectures for the day. We still
Good.
have
I'll
student
take all the
lectures
zombies
at
in them.
like 8 p.m.
In that
So I
stadium
think
over there,
me
Sarge.
and some of the organizers are gonna go grab a bite to eat before we have to head
Yeah,
back.
but no.
And that's
But
probably
no.
gonna be a wrap. Oh, you have a good day.
Got lots of work done. Thank you. What did you do?
Sorry, that never happens.
Hopefully that was helpful.